Some of the more fascinating and interesting times you can have in life are those times that you get to spend with a teacher or a mentor and just have one-on-one time with that individual, or maybe in a small group. And that's kind of the impression I get about Jesus and the disciples, that while Jesus was the teacher, the master teacher, the divine teacher, the disciples still felt comfortable enough with Jesus to talk with him and address him like they would one another. In John chapter 14, Jesus is talking to them about the events that are about to take place and how that they needed to have great faith to withstand the next few hours. Of course, they didn't understand that completely, but Jesus was preparing them anyway. But in verse 5 of John 14, and then in verse 8, you have Thomas asking a question. You have Philip asking a question. And you get a picture there of the closeness and the intimacy that existed in this group. Let's think about Thomas' question in verse 5 for just a minute, because Jesus had been telling the disciples that he was going to go away, that they couldn't come with him. And finally, Thomas said, "Lord, we don't know where you're going, and so how can we know the way?" The classic response in verse 6 that all of us know so very well, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." In that response, Jesus uses the article 3 times. He's not just a way or some way. He's the way, the truth, the life. All very definitive. And when we think about Jesus being the way, so many in this world are lost and seeking a way. Jesus is that way. He told his disciples that he was preparing a place for them and that he was going to be the way to that place. It's through Jesus. Jesus is the truth. We live in a world that is so filled with false ideas. That all started in Genesis chapter 3 when Satan told the first lie, and he's been telling them ever since, and man has been telling them ever since. Jesus is the truth, absolute truth, the truth. And Jesus is the life. Again, we have a world filled with people who think they are really living and think that they're finding life in all the great pleasures that the world has to offer. But Jesus is the life, the only life. And that life comes from the Father. And Jesus says the only way that we as human beings are going to be able to connect with the Father to find that way, truth, and life is through Jesus. Listen to Jesus, believe Jesus, and most of all, obey Jesus.